my dad is a character. Literally. His real name is James, but everyone calls him Buzz with one Z. And he loves being the centre of attention. When I was a kid, he'd always lift his shirt up in family photos to show off his hairy belly. And he still calls my grandmother on April Fool's Day to tell her that my mum's pregnant. Not everyone thinks he's funny. As a kid, I was terrified that he'd talk to other parents at school dances because he doesn't so much converse as he launches into these stories, and they're not always appropriate. The letter writing started in 4th grade. I went to sleepaway camp 20 minutes from my house, and he wrote me a letter every single day. He did it again in 5th grade, 6th, 7th. I started going to camp for longer. I became a counsellor and eventually started staying all summer, and he still sent me a letter every day. The letters even continued into college. I've gotten about 500 of them since I moved into this apartment alone, even though he lives 20 minutes down the road. They usually just talk about his day, but they can also be quite insightful and hilarious. One time, he wrote 250 words about a Subway sandwich. I wrote an article about him once, school paper, and he just loved being the guy that wrote his little letters. I don't think he can actually stop at this point. It's part of his character. But I also see them as insane devotions of his love. He cries every time he takes me to an airport. He brings me flowers when I'm sad. I mean, for all his quirks, I really lucked out with this guy. A while ago I was talking to a friend and I asked her if she thought my dad was different. And I'll always remember what she said. Her response was, even if he was, would you even care? You'd really like him. My dad's a character, literally. His real name's James, but he calls himself Buzz with one Z. And he just loves being the centre of attention. When I was a kid, when we took family photos, he'd always lift up his belly to show off his hairy stomach. And he still calls my grandmother every April Fool's Day to tell her that my mum's pregnant. Not everyone thinks he's funny. As a kid, I was absolutely terrified of him talking to other parents at school dances because he didn't so much converse as he just launched into these stories, and they weren't always appropriate. The letters started in 4th grade. I went to sleepaway camp 20 minutes from my house, and he wrote me a letter every single day. He did it again in 5th grade, and 6th and 7th. I started to stay longer, and eventually I became a counsellor, and I stayed away all summer. And he still wrote me a letter every single day. It continued when I went to college. I've gotten about 500 of them since I've moved in here, and he lives only 20 minutes down the road. Usually the letters just talk about his day, but they can also be really creative and hilarious. One time he wrote 250 words about a Subway sandwich. Once I wrote a newspaper article about him, in the college newspaper, and he just loved being the guy who wrote his daughter letters. I really don't think he can stop at this point. Part of his character. But I also see them as insane devotions of his love. He cries every time we go to an airport, and he brings me flowers when I'm sad. I mean, for all his quirks, I really lucked out with this guy. A while ago, I was talking with a friend, and I asked her if she thought my dad was different. And I'll always remember what she said. She said to me, even if he is, Did you even care?